Good stuff. Hey, Simon, buddy, how we doing, mate? Oh, how's things?
Real good, really good. So yeah, just a bit of lunchtime coach talk because we've got a big day tomorrow.
Coach talk, mate. Coach talk. We're not in the same room. It's quite weird. The first time I've had to do a Zoom call, but yeah, it's hopefully it'll work well. At least we don't have to put up with each other's smells, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
How's your week training gone then, mate? Because we were just chatting before, weren't we? Saying it's been a bit of a weird week of training because obviously we've got the comp coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's you know, I mean, obviously it's a big one for us, qualification. You don't want to mess that up, but it doesn't. I don't know about you. Does it feel like a big comp to you? It's a strange feeling, and I'm not sort of not strange, not putting it down or anything like that at all. Obviously taking it really, really seriously, but it doesn't have the everybody on Facebook going, I'm going to be doing this weekend. It's just
no, mate. I totally get you. I think because it's not directly a competition. It's like qualification for the England team, but I think for me it's a different kind of excitement in terms of kind of that getting together and meeting new people and cheering everybody who have gone specifically for the sole purpose is to qualify or hit rank. So you know that everybody's going there to really try and hit numbers. Rather than just kind of going there for first, second or third place or whatever it may be. So everybody's going there for a specific purpose, which it'll create a really good atmosphere, I think, but it'll be something a bit different, you know? So,
yeah. So, but training-wise, obviously, bit of a deload week. So sort of 7 to 8 intensity on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Big day on Saturday.
Yeah.
Took quite a bit of recovering sort of Sunday. Monday, you know, obviously we did our snatch set in the gym.
Yeah.
Which was just nice to get the body moving again, get that that timing. And then obviously trained Tuesday.
Yeah.
Wednesday was rower. So cardiac output again. Thursday, I was thinking I may train, and I've been really, as you know, you and I have been kind of chatting as to how my body responds, and what I want to do is get a lot more technical with you with that.
Yeah.
And just see when the super compensation occurs for me. Because obviously that super compensation, if we can get the timing right on that for a comp, that's me performing higher than my baselines.
Yeah.
But where does that occur for me? Because from a heavy session, is it 48 hours after?
Yeah, so different
on that graph.
Yeah, so on the super compensation curve, well, on the graph, different types of training protocols have different recovery methods and different time frames. Now it's kind of an art and a science, do you know? It's kind of saying, right, it doesn't get to 48 hours and that's it from a strength training standpoint. Good. But what we used to do up at the Newcastle Falcons with the guys there is they would have a primer day on the Thursday, ready for the day on the Saturday. So they would have 48 hours, but they would be using more real big, heavy, explosive type movement and have that primer day. And then the day before, they'd have a walkthrough of the game. So you're talking that would be an RPE of 3, 2.
Oh, okay, right.
You know, that day. But again, they did test it in previous seasons with lads who would actually do it the day before, lads who would actually go in the gym before they actually played the game.
Right.
You know, so I think, and again, it is all about the art and the science, and it's about trying to make whatever fits to yourself. Now, I've found over a longer period of time, I always feel better having quite a bit of rest and then having one day before, like literally, you're talking 24 hours, just doing a set beforehand. And we're talking like a minute, minutes kind of thing, literally. But I think each individual responds differently. You know, and I think you've also got to take into appreciation the actual environment that you're going into as well. So you've got to look at, well, actually, am I going to be sat in the car for 3-4 hours beforehand? Have I got 3 or 4 hours to do a weigh-in that we could possibly have an international competition? You know, these different times, because these all have impacts. You know, now we are lucky in this respect that Harrogate's 45 minutes away from us, so you're not sort of seizing up, sat in a car for longer periods of time. But again, that being said, all depends on the training volume and the training cycles and the external factors going up to that. You know, some people just have a longer. I know guys who try a 2-week, start their taper off 2 weeks beforehand. Do you know? You've got some guys who can train right up to it. I.e., if you look at the national team of Russia, they generally do training camps right the way up to the major championships. So they'll spend 2 weeks training 2-3 times a day or twice a day. Lots of recovery. It's quite specified. And then they travel straight to the competition. You know, so but it all depends on the environment. If you can train, sleep, eat, then you know it's fine. But if you've got a stressful job and you've got loads of stuff on, then sometimes that can have an impact as well. So,
but that's where the coach-athlete relationship comes in as well, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think sometimes you've got to not be scared of what it might not work. And I think this is where I've really noticed the value of the grassroots competitions, because
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, you tried it and you felt a bit sluggish on the day when you were lifting, but was that something to do with the 3-hour car journey, or was it the fact that you lifted a 7 the day before? I felt fairly good, you know, I felt pretty solid. So it's kind of one of them you're going to have to play about with the process, because there's no hard or fast rule, okay? Like generally, typically, if you look at the studies on that super compensation, it's either, depending on the exercise, you get the rebound effect at 12 hours, 36, 48, 72, that kind of thing. But it's kind of like, again, every single person is completely different, because if you are in a sympathetic state, then actually don't want to ramp it up so close to the comp, you know, and vice versa. Or actually, if you're spending a long time in the parasympathetic state, so if your HRV score is kind of like a 90 or 100, your body's not stimulated, it's not ready to rock and roll.
No.
Kind of want to be at that 75. So it's really important to manage that aspect all of the time. And this is why monitoring heart rate is really good, because if you then not like over recover is probably the wrong term, but if the body shoots too far in the parasympathetic, it starts to become a little bit like lazy, or it is just sort of, it's sat in that zone all the time. But actually, when we come to compete, we kind of need to be in that excitable state.
Excited, yeah.
To really go. But then we don't want to be on the other side of that, where we're fatigued and we're
worked.
Exactly. So it is an art and a science, and that comes from time of just understanding your heart rate, your training load, actually the external stresses of work-life balance and all of that sort of stuff. Because I think one of the things that I've learned over the time of training is it's not compartmentalized. It's not like training's that. I've done that. That's it. It's done. And then I go play Happy Families, or I go to work. I've done my 9 to 5. That's it. Packed in a shelf. It's done. it's all part of the one picture, and it's just blurred mess. It's such a massive grey area, but it's about trying to find clarity in that grey area that suits the individual. Now there'll be guys who watch this and go, "Oh well, I feel great on this, and I feel great on that." And that's fantastic.
And again, it's how your body, and this is again, it comes down to either knowing your body or your coach knowing your body.
Yeah, exactly that. And there's times when obviously I've had a quiet word for you, or right, okay, you need to focus on this, we need to change this, we need to change that. And again, there's going to be times when you do make mistakes. That's part of it. You've overcooked it, or you've undercooked it. You know, Gary put up a good video the other week talking about that all the hard training's being done, so managing your time up to that. But it's kind of, well, actually, for some people, the hard training is done, but they still need a few heavy sets to make sure
just to give them a kicker.
You know what I mean? Just to maintain that, you know, which is how I kind of respond. Do you know what I mean? So again, it's a real complex question, you know. And again, I think this is where the athlete-coach relationship is massive in terms of how you're feeling, constant feedback, even if it is just on average heart rate, RPE of every single session, just having eyes on that as a coach so you can be really agile. And I think that's where the importance of that comes across, and speaking to your athlete regularly and trying to take into considerations where that comes in. But also, if you are training by yourself, this is where it's really important to log down different aspects of your life, like your sleep, your heart rate, your HRV, your work-life balance and stuff like that. It's really important to look at that as well, because these are the things can have a massive impact. And now, hey, I know we're not all professional athletes, but we all want to do the best we can possibly be in the sport, you know, with whatever resources we've got, you know. And I think actually, by looking at all of these different aspects, it can have a huge impact. And I think it's something that it's easy to do. Makes it easy.
But I think as well,
you know,
I think the more the people, you know, Brendan was saying last night in his webinar, you know, there is a big shift into people looking to behave in a more athletic way, looking to behave like athletes.
Yeah.
And if you can do it within your daily life, and you can get a decent coach who knows you, you can work with that coach, and you can achieve stuff with a manageable level of preparation, detail, and working things through.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of how you manage your time and basically what you want to achieve, because I think deep down everybody wants to do, you know, you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't want to perform and do your best on test day.
Yeah.
You know, we just wouldn't do it. We wouldn't compete. So I think it's a real, you know, there's been a big, as Brendan said, been a big paradigm shift in people's attitudes over the last 5 to 10 years.
But I think with that is you've got to look at it in terms of aspects of actually the difference between the guys who are at the top of the game and the guys who got sat in the middle is that smaller detail. Do you know? Like literally the guy who finishes first in the 100-meter sprint compared to the guy who finishes last isn't 5 seconds.
No.
You're talking like 0.0 whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Half a second max, you know. But just because one finishes first and one finishes 8th, does that automatically make them 8 times faster? No. It's talking real incremental, but it's having the discipline. And I think this is the tipping point, and this is the trade-off, and this is what I'll say to guys. We've had this conversation many times ourselves. Is actually, if you want to continue on this, that's cool. Honestly, there's no dramas. Like the main goal for me is swing bells, enjoy it, love it. Okay, if you want to take it further, just realize that you might have to sacrifice this, or you might have to look at changing this, and this. But if you still get the thrill, the excitement of the training and competition, and that's a driving factor for you, then great. I just want to make sure you've got your eyes open for that. If you just want to train alongside your son, daughter, have a bit of fun, lose a bit of weight, that's fine. You can do this. I wouldn't really necessarily need you say you need a periodized program. You need this. You need that. Basically, you just want fun, exciting, engaging, and enabling sessions. You know.
And it's meeting people where they're at, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly that. You know. So it's really important. But no, like I say, I think back to the original question around finding out what works for you in terms of comp prep is. It is a learning experience, but that's why I reckon you can get to a grassroots, or if there's not one in the area, I know we've done it in the gym before where we've just actually set up test days to try and replicate that competition environment, or just that little testing session.
Yeah.
You know, like springing it on the guys, right? Okay, Saturday we're going to do 8 minutes or whatever it may be, or we're going to try this challenge or whatever it may be. And I think it's just seeing how your body reacts. Learning about that. Don't try something completely new before a big competition, because you need to know if it works. And that kind of leads on to the next subject of what I wanted to chat with you today. Now we all know, like I like my sweet stuff, but when it comes to competition time, I've got to really like knuckle down, because I've dropped a weight category. So I've dropped under 78 kilos, down from under 85. And the reason why I put that on myself now is because it forces me to be more disciplined with my nutrition, which people might say, oh, well, just enjoy yourself. You love it. You know, just have this, have that, have this, have that, which is fine to an extent. But I don't enjoy feeling 2-3 kilos heavier than what I need to be. You know?
Yeah, but it goes back to meeting people where they are, isn't it? You want to be where you are.
Absolutely. I'm talking just solely about me. And I know for my fact is, for the goals that I've got and what I want to achieve in the sport, it's more beneficial for me in terms of the full performance picture, in terms of making sure I get the right nutrition, I get the right body management. Under 78 kilos is by far the best for me, just for my height and frame and everything else like that as well, you know. But obviously to get that, I generally walk around about 81 kilos, thereabouts. So obviously I know me and you work quite closely together in terms of the lead up into the prep. We try and get that to around about 79, and then I've got kind of a kilo to lose in water. But the question I kind of wanted to put to yourself is like, what's your thoughts on cutting? Is like for kettlebell sport, because if you look at the sport, cutting can be massively detrimental, you know. But that being said, like, do you reckon people should, or do you reckon actually, Steve, you want to compete in 78, stay at 78, don't go above 78.5 all year round? Do you know?
I think a lot of it is going to depend on when you weigh in to when you're competing. If you've got to weigh in that morning, and you will know, or you should know for a big competition when you're going to be weighing in. If you've got to weigh in that morning, I don't personally think you want to be cutting 2 kilos, 3 kilos in water weight. You've got to do it. The month before, 6 weeks before, however it is, however much you've got to lose, you've got to be thinking, and it comes down to the planning, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're trying to cut 3-4 pounds in water weight and you've got 12 hours to rehydrate, are you rehydrating to the depths of your bones? you know, or is it kind of, yeah, I've got a lot of water in me, but actually, is it in there at a cellular level? Is it really working where it needs to be?
Yeah.
And so if you've got a quick, you know, or if there's a very short period of time between competing and weighing in, as I say, I think you've got to do it. If you've got 2 or 3 days or 2 days, you know, big international, like with the qualifications where, you know, it's been great being able to video weigh in from Thursday, because that means that if you are cutting, if you are dehydrating to get to that weight, you can rehydrate over a longer period of time. And I just think it gets your body to, you know, to a much more even state. Let's face it, dehydrating is a stress on your body.
Yeah.
You know, whether we like it or not. Do you want to put your body through that much stress in a short period of time to rehydrate? I personally don't do.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I think for me personally, if I know I've got a competition coming up, I'll tighten my food up. You know, I'll be putting more veg on my plate. I'll be looking more closely at my carb intake and cycling that. I'll be looking more closely at my calorie intake, and I'll certainly be looking more closely at my red wine intake.
That's just versatile, though, isn't it, mate? That's why you take it. It's purely reverse. Only red wine.
You know, so I mean, as you know, I like to walk around about 79 and a half. I do want to put some more lean mass on. The older I get, you know, I'm 47 next week, and it does become more difficult. It really does.
Yeah.
And that, you know, the stuff that I've been doing on the supplementation and looking at supplementation as you age as well, you know, because that can have a big effect. So yeah, I guess I think really, in answer to your question, for me, it really does depend, and sometimes you just got to take each competition as it comes. If you don't know when weighing is, because it's not been announced, to me, you've got to err on the side of caution and just work it down. You know, we worked out, you know, yours and my macros. I worked them out just Christmas period, and that gave us that month to get everything, you know, more dialed in. You and I have been talking. How's your weight? How are you feeling during your training? Have you got enough exercise? Are you sleeping well enough? Are you recovering well enough? All of those things which stem from, and it goes back to, you know, what you were saying earlier. It's that big picture of daily life, what I put in my mouth, and how hard I train. You know, and it's obviously it's had a positive effect. We've both made weight quite comfortably. And feel good.
Absolutely. I think it's always an interesting one for me, because I'm from like a fighter's background. So weight cutting's massive part of that sport. And if you look at, but if you I've done it well, and I've royally messed it up in previous times as well, you know. And I think for me, it is because it is a body weight category sport. You've still got to remember it's always best to be in the most competitive category for yourself as well, you know. And because you've got to look at, well, actually, different body weights can affect the amount of mass they exert onto the external weight. It's a matter of physics. You know, it's sometimes, if you are sat in that in-between zone, sometimes it is good just to kind of drop down and lean up, just for the good of your sport and stuff as well, you know. But there certainly is a tipping point. I think for me, there's so many different ways that you can do it safely and effectively. Not to the extremes of what I used to. I mean, I talk when I used to fight, I used to drop like 7 kilos in a very, very short space of time, you know. But I think with kettlebell sport, you've got to be mindful of the fact of just how much of an impact hydration has on endurance athletes. you know, in terms of the ability to perform, the effect it has on the heart rate, all the effects it has on the muscles and how they're able to perform, protection, cognitive abilities and stuff as well, vitally important. Also,
massive.
When you dehydrate yourself, you alter your electrolyte balance, which actually, again, has a massive impact on how you can perform in kettlebell sport and stuff as well. So I think it's very subjective, but I think for me, probably a general rule of thumb for guys is if you want to drop down a weight category, you generally don't want to be sitting about 2-3 weeks out. You don't want to be sitting any more than 3 or 4 kilos above that weight.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Because I think that's when it just becomes too excessive. Do you know what I mean? But I think that in being able to lose 3 kilos kind of maximal through water and other natural methods, I think is about right, the tipping point. But that's completely subjective. That's my from my experience and what I've seen and being able to compare it to different sports and stuff as well, you know. But yeah, cutting, is it good? Is it bad? Should you do it? Again, I think it comes down to the individual. But I think if you are in a weight category, for example, me, I walk around 81, 82. I think if you're in one of those weight categories where you're sort of thinking, should I be up or down? Should I stay where I'm at? I think it's something that you need to sort of play about with in terms of how do you feel? Are you walking around 82, 83? Because as it was for me, it allowed you to be lazy with your nutrition. And it wasn't like
exactly
if you had a few bits of extra sweet stuff on the weekend, or if you like your food or whatever it may be, you didn't have to worry about it. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, by not worrying about that and just having the cakes, the sweets, or whatever it may be, then actually, are you undoing some of the hard work you do in the gym by hampering your recovery, hampering this? If you like your beers on the weekend, which is fine, but just be mindful of the fact that it will always have an impact. And it's that opportunity cost. You either want to cut out the beers and drop it down and give your all to the sport, or see how far you can push yourself, or actually, no, do you know what? I'm happy with my training life balance, so I'm going to stay here. Either one. There's no right or wrong. I think it's just as long as you're aware. I wouldn't want to say to you, if you started saying, right, okay, I'm walking around at 80, 81, I'm going out on a weekend, just having I have 5 or 6 beers every weekend, and we have a couple of glasses of wine during the week, whatever it may be. I like my sweet stuff. I like having my takeaways on a Saturday night. It's a treat night. It's my duty to say to you that that's cool. If you don't want to change that, that's fine. But just be aware of the impact that this can have on this aspect, and this aspect. Do you know what I mean? And I think,
yeah, and it's exactly why we sit and we discuss these things, because we're just trying to give everybody the broadest vision, the broadest possible, you know, give everybody the helicopter view so that they can make the informed decision from themselves. Obviously, we've got our advice, we've got our feelings, our thoughts, our beliefs, but they don't match everybody.
Yeah, exactly that. But no, I think it's always interesting because it is one of those, I've seen at many an international competition. You've had guys running around in bin bags. You've had guys who are sort of running up and down outside the hotels ready to make way. I've had it before in St. Petersburg where
you lost skin.
Yeah, running up and down the street, jumping in a hot shower, get as hot as I can, and then putting my hands up against the wall and having some crazy Russian scrape me as hard as he can with a wet towel. You know, yeah, fun times. Who needs that epidermis, eh? Who needs that epidermal layer? Nobody needs that. But I think it's an interesting subject, and it'll continue to go on. And I think, yeah, I think it's something just to keep an eye on in our sport, because it's certainly, I know there's been discussions about should the athletes weigh in the day of the competition. Should they weigh in the day before? Do you know what's the correct protocol? What's the right protocol? Because every other sport does it completely different, you know. Even boxing does it completely different on actually you've got to weigh in at this on the day of the fight. I think it's wrestling, I think Olympic wrestling, literally like you'll step on the scales, they'll weigh you, and then it'll be like, right, you have to fight now.
Okay.
So
I was going to say, because boxing, you've got to make weight, and then you've got to be, is it within 10 pounds of the weight category or something?
Something along those lines, yeah. You know? But then you've got the MMA guys who are just like, lose as much as possible, and then you walk into the ring and you're like, you ain't no 180 pounds, you know what I mean? So, you know, so, but no,
again, it's going to be,
I think it's interesting.
I was going to say, again, we you know, you haven't cut as much water this time close to. And so it's going to be interesting to see how you feel on the day, and I think that's something that we can look at next week in coaches talk, and just give anybody who is listening. Let's
see how it goes.
There's nothing like experimenting on yourself, is there?
Well, that's it. I think sometimes that's what drives me to keep on pushing. And like, first and foremost, I love kettlebell sport, and it's kind of my life. I've dedicated so much to it, and I will continue to do so because I love the sport. I can't see myself doing any other form of training. I can't see myself participating in many other sports at the same level as what I do now. I just love the sport. But I think for me as a coach, I always want to make sure that I've kind of seen it, different situations, different scenarios. Now, this isn't to say that I've got to perform to the same level as a high-level world-class athlete when I'm coaching my sprinters or whatever it may be, but having that experience and understanding of what the athlete's going to be going through and the approach that they have to take, I think is massively important, especially with the amount of youngsters we've got coming through the gym now. I want to make sure that I've got as many tools as I possibly can to guide them every single step of the way, you know. So, no, like I say, it's a really cool subject, you know. So, like I say, obviously, as we've chatted, I know we've got qualifiers tomorrow. That's why we're pre-recording this one now, you know. But I think it's going to be really good because I'm excited, but also like it's going to be a big team. Like, about the amount of 2 Nova athletes we've got going for qualification, it's big teams, you know, which I'm excited about. But it's certainly going to be interesting because it's a different kind of feel, like you've said, you know. So, so nice. Good, mate. Cool. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we've taken up enough time. I know we've gone in depth on a lot of stuff there, but I think the guys have got any questions, I think it'd be good for them to reach out and stuff like that. But really exciting talks, mate. Like I think it was really good just to get your thoughts on what you're thinking on the whole cutting thing, and then how do you prepare for the competition ahead and stuff like that. I think it's going to be cool, you know.
No, it's good. It's really good.
No worries, mate. I will catch everybody later on. It's been a pleasure.
Take care, guys.